morning, everyone. My name is Kat, and this here is Andrew. We're both engineers on the Firebase team. Mostly, we work on features to help developers build their apps quickly. But if you've already built your app, if you've already shipped it, then what? What features does Firebase have to help you out at this point? To explore this question, we decided to build our own app, complete app without Firebase. And it's called Goldmine. This is a little game we've built, but everything we show here today can be applied to any app. So let's get this started of our demo. Once our game is started up, we can select a level. We'll be dropped in the middle of a gold mine, and our goal is to get as much gold as possible and escape onto our ship and out of the gold mine. Yay, we escaped! So that's our little app that we will be demonstrating on today. Let's go back to the slides. But for some reason, we don't have very many users, and our CEO is not very happy with that. But we don't really know why or what's going on with our app. Luckily, Firebase has a whole suite of products to help us. As developers, understand how our app is being used, as well as uncover issues that our users might be facing, such as bad performances or crashes. So back to our CEO level mandate. How do we get more users? Well, we've developed a lot of new game content, including a lot of new levels, but we think that our users won't know about this. How can we let our users know about our new updates?
I have an idea. Let's use Firebase Cloud Messaging to notify our users when we release new game content. That way, they'll know to come back and try the app again.
That is a great idea. And to track that people are coming back to play the new levels, we can make use of Firebase Analytics. And we'll know that our approach is working. So, Andrew, want to get us started?
Sure.
Let's jump back to the demo.
Good morning. The first thing that we'll want to do is install Firebase. We've already created a Firebase project, and we've created our iOS app. And to save time for the demo, we also downloaded the Firebase configuration plist, and we uploaded our APNS cert to Firebase. The first thing we'll need to do now is use CocoaPods to install the SDKs. Let's plan ahead and install a few of the SDKs that we're likely to use. First, we'll need to add the SDKs to our pod file. And then we head over to the console, and we run pod install. We'll let that run. It'll download the SDKs, and we're all set. So we can head over to Xcode, and we'll need to edit our app delegate to configure the Firebase app. All we'll need to do is at the top import Firebase, and then call Firebase app.configure. Firebase Cloud Messaging auto-registers for new notifications. So we won't need to add any special code to configure things. But we will have to enable push notifications in our project. So let's go do that now. There we go. And we can run the app. We can now head over to the Firebase console, and we can quickly use the UI to send a message to these users. Let's try it out. We'll go to the console. We'll open the Notifications tab, and we'll create a new message. For the message text, let's enter something like, come check out our new levels. And then we'll target our message, let's say to the whole app, and hit send. Great. So if we head back over to the app now, we should see our notification come in. There it is. Next, let's hook up analytics to see how many of those users are actually coming back to the app to try the new levels. We'll have to write some code.
Actually, Andrew, we are already getting some analytics data. We got it for free when we configured our Firebase app.
Well, that's cool. Let's see what the data looks like. We'll go over to the console. We'll pull up the analytics dashboard. And we'll see what the data shows. You know, Kat, it doesn't look like we have very many users. I'm really interested to know if people are actually playing these new levels. We can't tell this from the default data, but with a little bit of code, we could log some custom events, and we could tell each time a user plays a new level. Let's set that up. Let's head over to Xcode, and we'll open up the view controller for the level screen. And at the top, first, we'll import Firebase. Then, we'll add a custom parameter. We'll define a level complete event. And we'll add in the level that they're on, and then we'll add in as well the instance ID as a custom parameter so that later on we'll be able to target push notifications to them. Since custom parameters have a limit on data size, we'll need to split this up across 2 parameters. And now we'll log this event using the log event method in analytics. There we go. Next, we'll enable the debug mode for analytics in our project. Now, usually, the Firebase Analytics SDK optimizes for battery usage, and it batches events together, meaning it can take a little while sometimes before new data shows up in our console. But for development, we really want to see the right events right away. So we'll go and enable debug mode to ensure that those come through right away. All right, let's run the app, and we can see if we get new data. We'll want to go and complete a new level just to see if our custom event is correctly logging things. We'll pick up some gold. We'll find our ship. There we go. Cool, we escaped. Let's head over to the console now. And we'll go down to the analytics debug view.
And refresh the page.
And refresh the page. And we should see, there it is. We see the new events coming in. It even has our green conversion event that we just logged. Let's go take a look at some of our App Store reviews. I bet our users love these new levels.
So slow. Don't waste your time. Maybe that's an outlier. Worked for me, but took forever to load. Starting to sound like a trend. Takes like 30 seconds to load. Yikes. Well, I have an idea, actually. I think I know where this is. Maybe it's that giant background image we're loading. We can probably fix this by using a more optimized image.
Hey, Kat, as long as we're in that code, let's update the image. Let's pull in that new Thanksgiving background image that we were working on.
Andrew, Thanksgiving is an American holiday. I don't think everyone here knows what you're talking about. For those of you that don't, basically Thanksgiving, we get together with our families and we eat a lot of turkey. But that is a cool idea. I think you're onto something. If we use remote config, we can set a different value for users in different regions. We'll be able to configure a parameter in remote config to determine what background URL to load. And then the app will connect to Firebase and get the appropriate value for that user. This way, we can have our normal background, optimized, of course. And for Americans, we can go ahead and show some turkeys for Thanksgiving. And when it becomes time for Sinterklaas, we can send a Sinterklaas theme for people in the Netherlands. We'll be able to change all of this on the fly without having to push a new update like we've done in the past.
Hang on. If we're going to be changing the background images all the time, how will we prevent these sort of performance problems that we just saw from happening again? What if someone forgets to optimize one of the images?
That's a good point. We dropped in the performance monitoring SDK earlier, so that gives us data that measures network requests. And we can add a custom trace to specifically track the performance of our new level choosing code. All right, so let's go back to the demo. And since we've already installed the SDKs, we can jump straight into the code. Here, we're going to be changing the code for our level chooser. First up, new file, new import. Let's drop in our Firebase, or import Firebase. This will import both remote config and performance monitoring. Then we'll take out this line where we were loading our oversized skulls background, and instead replace that with code that we'll fetch from remote config instead. We will create an instance to remote config that will actually connect to Firebase and get us our values, and we'll set developer mode so that we can get this data quickly. In a production app, these values would be cached for a certain amount of time, but we want to test to make sure things work now, on stage. We'll create a constant for the name of our parameter. Here we've picked background URL because it's our background and it's a URL. And we will set the default value to fall back to in case we can't connect to Firebase. Then we can perform a fetch from Firebase. The expiration duration here determines how long we will wait before fetching the values again. And of course, while developing, we will want to set this to 0 so that we can see the effects we're having immediately. Once we've fetched the values, we have to activate it. This is a separate step because we want to be able to control when the values actually change. It would be very disorienting to change the background while the user is choosing a level. But every time they come back to the screen, we can go ahead and change it. Once it's activated, we will read in the actual background URL from remote config, and we'll be able to load the background. Oh, and while we're here, let's add that custom instrumentation for performance monitoring so we can see how we were performing. We'll simply begin the trace before we download the background, and we'll name our trace background load so we can keep track of it, and we'll end it as soon as we've finished loading our background. All right, so the code is all hooked up. The next thing we've got to do is go back to our console and actually set the remote config values. We will create our first parameter, background URL, as our code is expecting. And we will specify our default image. You can see here they're not oversized skulls. Then we'll add a condition that allows us to target a section of our users, just our American users, and send them a different value so that they can get that nice turkey background for Thanksgiving. We'll select the region. And give them the URL for the Thanksgiving theme. Awesome. Let's publish those changes and run our app. Remote config essentially provides us with a key value store, which we can change remotely. This sets us up for sending out that Sinterklaas theme later on without having to deploy a new app. For example, remote config also allows us to target different groups of users based on analytics events. For example, we could push out a special theme for users who have completed 10 or more levels. Looks like I've got my turkeys here, because my phone came with me from America. All right, so you can see we got the turkey. Let's go check out the performance monitoring data. We have a couple of traces set up by default here, such as app start and app in foreground. And you can also see we have the trace we've set up, the background load. Let's go ahead and drill into that. We can see the range of times. And if we drill in, we can see this broken down by app version, by people in the Netherlands or America and other countries. And this way, we know if there's a particular region that's seeing poor latency, we can use remote config and send them a better image. All right, now that that's fixed, let's take a look in our App Store reviews again.
Hey, that looks better. Looks like our American users love the new turkey background. Ooh, that's not good. OK, well, one of our users isn't happy. And apparently our app crashes on level 2. That doesn't seem good at all. I'll bet Crashlytics can help us figure out what the bug is. We already installed the Crashlytics SDK, so now we need to configure it. Let's head over to our Xcode project, and let's open up the navigator and open the Build Phases tab. And we want to click the plus to add a new script phase. There we go. And we'll want to add some text into this box. All right. That's all you need to set up Crashlytics. Let's take a look in the console and see if there are any crashes. Hey, look, there it is. So this is actually super helpful. If we look in here, we can see that we're having a bug in our level model. Now, we could debug this really easily if we were running this locally with a debugger. But what if there's a bug that happens remotely? Crashlytics actually gives us the ability to capture custom data from remote crashes as well. To do this, first, we'll need to go over to Xcode, and we'll open up our level model, since that's where the crash seems to be. At the top, we'll import Crashlytics. And then, right before where we think the crash is, we're going to log the row and column as custom data. Note that testing Crashlytics locally is going to require us to turn off our local debugger. So let's do that now. And now let's run the app. It's building. It's launching. There we go. And let's try level 2, since we heard that's where the app crashes. Yep, there's the crash. Found it. Now, we can go back into the console, and we can actually see the crash data, including the custom events that we just logged. Let's take a look at the log data here.
Looks like we crash right as we get to column 9. You know, I think I've seen this number before in our code. Maybe we hard-coded the maximum size of our levels?
Let's go back in the code and see.
Yep, there it is.
Oh, yeah. We did hard-code it. OK. Well, let's fix that. Let's instead base the size off the actual level configuration. All right. Let's run the app and make sure the bug is fixed. All right, let's try level 2. And there we go, it loaded. Great. Let's go back and take a look at some of the reviews.
All right, center class theme is great. Looks like that remote config is really working for us. A very well-built app, fast, stable, and fun. Sounds like we fixed a lot of issues. Best maze game of 2017. We did pretty well. Now that we've solved our quality issues, maybe we can use our analytics data to help us increase our user engagement. We know that our users tend to drop off after level 2, so what if we gave them some encouragement at just the right time so that they'll keep going and play level 3? Cloud Functions can help us here. We're already logging analytics events every time a user completes a level, so we can use the function integration to identify when someone has finished level 2 and send them a notification encouraging them to try level 3. All right, let's try it out. To do this, we'll need to first make sure that our level complete event is marked as a conversion in the console. This allows us to trigger a Cloud Function from it. All right, here we are. We have level complete, and it looks like we have already marked it as a conversion. Awesome. So now we just have to write our functions code. This is code that gets run in the cloud. So we won't be writing it in Swift, and we won't be using Xcode, and we don't even have to deploy a new app for our users to get this functionality. We'll be writing in Node.js. Let's dive in. We've got our import here for functions. We'll also want to import the admin SDK so that we can actually push out a notification. And we'll also configure our app to use the default information for our Firebase project. Next, creating the actual function. We've called it onLevelComplete, and it triggers every single time an analytics event comes in for level complete. We'll get the event object passed to us containing lots of data, such as the custom parameters we logged. This includes the level data and the token we'll need to send them a notification. So let's grab that. And if it's not level 2, we don't want to send them a notification, so we can exit out early. Otherwise, they'll have just finished level 2, and that's when we want to send them a message. So let's go ahead and write that. We'll tell them they're going great. They should keep going for level 3. Maybe they'll get 100 bonus points. All right, the last thing to do, send it off, right? Using the admin SDK. So we'll just save our file and Firebase deploy it. Cloud Functions is a powerful integration that allows us to trigger code based on events that are happening and allows our app to respond in new and customized ways to analytics data. We do this without having to push out a new app every single time. Functions also integrates with other Firebase features. For example, we now have a Crashlytics integration in beta. Every time a new issue appears, we could have it file a ticket in our bug tracker automatically. All right, looks like our function's deployed, so let's go ahead and try it out. Just go ahead and finish up level 2. There's so much more gold. All right, well, you escaped, so you finished level 2. Now analytics will send this custom event to our server, and this triggers our function, which sends us a notification that we just set up. There it is. So let's take a look back at what we just did. We used cloud messaging to let our existing users know about our new content. We then added analytics to track how our app is doing and what levels people are reaching. Remote config allowed us to target particular users and give them a specialized experience without needing to publish a new version of the app. We used performance monitoring to track how our app is performing with the new fixes, and Crashlytics gives us insights into what crashes our users are running into and lets us gather contextual data from remote devices. Finally, we wrapped it up by using the integration with analytics and functions to send off a notification at the right time to encourage users to go on to try level 3. It turns out almost 50% of App Store reviews are app crashes or network issues or other performance problems that we can fix. These are issues that we, as developers, should be aware of and have the power to fix to give our users a smooth app experience. Firebase can not only help us catch these issues up front and react to them, but it also allows us to track how our app is doing from how many users we have to latency numbers and enables us to reach out to the people using our app. There's a lot more we'd love to show you, but we have limited time. Everything we've demonstrated today, live, is free to get started with, so we encourage you all to explore on your own. Thank you so much for coming, and if you'd like to speak with us after the talk, you can find us in the Ask Firebase Lounge.